Hi, and welcome to M1 Yarns and the Michigan Makers Podcast. I'm Jamie, your host and the dyer behind M1Yarns.com. I'm a yarn dyer, I should say. Just saying I'm a dyer doesn't make sense if you don't know the context. So if you're new here, welcome. This is a mostly knitting related podcast, and I'm coming to you from Michigan in the Midwest of the United States. Oh, and I am totally, this is going to be a crazy episode. My head is like, blah, 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 blah. If you are returning, welcome back is what I was really trying to get to. So where do I even begin? We have so much to talk about. Yes. If I sound very nasally, it's because I got a cold at Rhinebeck this past weekend. And whenever I get a cold, it immediately becomes bronchitis, like without fail, for my entire life. Thus far, I have a little bit of a cough at night, but not like barking all day. But I really hit it hard with the medicine when I got home and rest and all the things that you're supposed to do. So you're just stuck with me sounding a little bit. Ugh. So yes, I just got home from the New York Sheep and Wool Festival in Rhinebeck, New York, which if you have never gone and if you are in the fiber world, it is a bucket list trip. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10, except for when things aren't great, which we will talk about the elephant in the room. So this episode, just to go over a couple things. Yes, I will share with you my Rhinebeck haul because I know that people like to see what I purchased. If not, I mean, it's not really so much a show and tell, but I want to share with you the small businesses that I discovered or that I returned to this year that I purchased from in years past so that you in turn can check them out. Because what I love most about fiber festivals is discovering new to you businesses. There are so many small businesses out there that are worthy of our attention. So I will get to my haul towards the end of the video. But I also wanted to announce a new make-along, which is kicking off next week. The winner of our last make-along, which I'll get to momentarily. And I'll briefly go over my projects, my works in progress. I think a couple episodes back, I mentioned that what I wanted to start doing with these episodes is doing like a little, very brief, educate us collectively, you and me, about different sheep breeds. Because I got this book, The Field Guide to Fleece. If you are new here, I recently started learning how to spin yarn. And someone recommended this book to me as a guide to, I mean, like each section, like there's a 2-page layout for each sheep breed. So this is Polworth. It'll show you the animal and then it'll show you the fiber and tell you a little bit about the facts and these types of things. So I thought it would be really fun. Every episode, I would try to read one or highlight a couple things about one. Highlight today I chose because I took this photo at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival this past weekend. I put it on my Instagram stories and someone immediately sent me a message. Is that a Hurd wick? And yes, sure enough, the lady who was walking these sheep, I chatted with her for a few minutes and asked her what the breed was in my attempt to learn more. She said Hurd wick, and the name Hurd wick is thought to be derived from the Old Norse Herdvik, or sheep pasture. Lambs are born nearly black. As they grow, they quickly lighten to the breed's characteristic gray or gray-brown bodies with those charming white faces. The fleece, some parts of the fleece will contain more coarse fibers than others. Open out the locks to facilitate drafting and experiment. Best uses. Hurd wick lends itself to use in rugs, durable woven fabrics, or components for baskets and sculpture. If you can separate out the coarsest fibers, the undercoat will make nice sweaters, blankets, or hats. They originate in northwestern England, just like me. And their staple length is anywhere from 3 to 10 inches. Yeah, it is a conservation breed. Scratch that. It is a conservation breed. Pretty cool. So, thanks for that little. So we need to call that section something like, I don't know. If you have a name, something catchy, something cute, drop it in the comments below. So Knit Along kicks off November 1st, and it is the something old, something new make along. I should call it a make along because you can knit or crochet. And the gist of it is that you should either pull out a WIP that has been in timeout for ages and just get on with finishing it. So that's the something old. Or the something new is pick a skill, something that you've been afraid of, and tackle it. Just dive in, pick a project, and let's go. Let's conquer our fears, whether it's steeking, brioche, if you've never done color work, this is the time to do it. And if you post your project photos using this hashtag on Instagram or in the Ravelry forum, which I'll link below, you can enter for a chance to win a prize. So we're all going to be in it together. I thought of this because of two things. Number one, I had worked really hard this year to get rid of all my old languishing WIPs. They were just annoying to me. And number two, last year I learned to steek, and this year I steeked several cardigans, one of which is this, which is the Spark cardigan by Andrea Mowry. This was one of my Rhinebeck sweaters, and I love steeking so much now. I'm so glad I conquered my fear. And so that's how I thought about this make along. I hope you'll join me. And you know how I say in every episode that my female dog Daisy likes to kick the tripod? Well, today she's decided she has kicked the tripod. I don't know if you noticed. But instead, she wants to play with her tennis ball with me. She's 10, but now that she went on pain meds for her hips, she thinks she's 2. And someone's a little playful today. Oh, you're trying to make a guest appearance? Daisy, you can't. You're going to snag my sweater. Okay, so I will include at the end of this some footage, of my time in Rhinebeck and all the fringe events, which reminds me, I haven't even talked about the elephant in the room. So I think before I dive in any further, I want to talk really briefly about and if you have small children, you might want to pause and take them out of the room right here. But the shit show that was Woolen Folk, which is one of the satellite events of the Rhinebeck weekend, the New York Sheep and Wool Festival weekend. I was an attendee. I was not a vendor, just to be clear. And if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you can go on Instagram and read all sorts of accounts from vendors and attendees alike. But essentially, in a nutshell, the venue was changed and the organizer did not update the contracts with the vendors this is my knowledge from the vendors. Basically, the new venue was not designed to accommodate the 3,000 tickets that were sold for this event. And it was just a disaster. Weather was a factor, but it was just the icing on the cake. Truly, this event was so poorly planned. When we arrived on Friday, We had just come from Cakapalooza, which was great. It was intense in the parking lot of Cake Wool in Saugerties. It is a great event. Yes, it was raining. Yes, we all had our raincoats and umbrellas and, you know, rain boots and stuff. But it was great. We get to Woolen Folk probably 3 hours into the event, and there was no signage for where to get your ticket scanned. There were no signage with sponsor logos. There was no real direction. There were food trucks on this pavement area, and you just knew that there was like lots of pandemonium happening. So we get our tickets signed in or scanned, we get our bracelets, we go in, and there was no signage of like where this is. No map was given to you. It was just like a free-for-all. And so I had to ask an attendee, hey, where do you start? And they recommended we start in the little building to the side. And we went in there, and it was absolutely packed like sardines. So much so that it was, I mean, like the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, some booths are packed, but you can maneuver. You can breathe. This was like, I mean, it was like Black Friday at, you know, I don't go shopping on Thanksgiving, but you get what I'm saying. It was like absolutely insane. It was so miserable. You couldn't even really get to a booth. So you just kept moving. And then you realized you paid this $40, $50 ticket for this event, and you're not enjoying it. So as a yarn vendor at other events, I kind of started to pick up on some things happening that raised alarm bells. I noticed that booth sizes were highly irregular, and by irregular, I mean small. There was no real like clear signage for doors. So God forbid a fire happened. It just would have been an absolute disaster. There were vendors in tents on mud, and they did not need to be. If they were going to be outside, fine, but they were put on the mud when they could have been put on the pavement up by the food trucks. And you couldn't even get in their booths if you were, you know, able-bodied or not. I mean, God forbid you were in a wheelchair or you had a stroller situation. It was like you had to risk losing your boot in the mud to get to a booth. It was just so miserable. And I immediately, my vendor heart went out to the vendors, because I have vended at a situation, I'll call it a situation, where I was contracted to vend indoors, and when I arrived, it was in a tent outdoors in winter conditions. And instead of a 10 by 10 space like I was supposed to have, like is standard, I had a 2 by 4 space, which is not even really big enough for a table, let alone you and your customer. And so I started to see these kinds of things, and the trauma of that experience made me realize that something is not right here. So I actually ran into a vendor friend of mine, and I said to her, things aren't right, are they? And she kind of looked at me like she didn't really want to be unprofessional, but she really wanted to cry and fall into my arms right then. And I told her it was evident that it was not her fault. It was evident that she was doing the best that she could. It was evident that nobody could get to people's booths. And I saw the organizer of this event on multiple occasions during my time there. I was there for several hours before I got fed up. A friend of mine who was in my group, she was pregnant. I was scared for her slipping on the mud or getting crushed in a crowd. She and I kind of collectively were over it, and we went to our car, which thankfully we found a nearby parking space. I won't even touch on the parking because that's a whole other fiasco. During the time that I was at the Woolen Folk Festival, I noticed the organizer standing around, laughing, smiling, hugging, taking photos, not addressing any of the situations that were happening. Vendors' booths, they provided the tents for these outdoor vendors, but no sidewalls. They, if a skein fell in the mud, now it's damaged and can't be sold. And she didn't seem to care. That apathy burned me. And I felt so helpless. I wanted to fix the whole event, but it wasn't up to me to fix. And it really started to make me sick. I realized that there were so many things wrong with this situation. If the fire department had come, they would have shut it down for code violations, for, overcapacity. It was really miserable. And I would say for someone who had mobility issues, it would be all the more so, and I think that is just flat out wrong. This event was, from my account last year, really great. I know that there were some concerns that I didn't know about until this year, that were supposed to be fixed. If you are interested, I will try to link below to a few different people who on Instagram have been very vocal about their experience, either as a sponsor, a vendor. But in short, the organizer of this event easily, I did the math, easily took in between $200,000 and $300,000 in booth fees, ticket sales, and sponsorship fees. Did not do her due diligence in planning and preparing contractually appropriate space for the vendors, safe spaces for attendees to shop, and just showed utter recklessness. And that evening, I'm in this group chat with other yarn dyers, and someone said, so are we going to talk about the shit show that was Woolen Folk? And someone said, vendors are probably scared to speak up because the organizer is in one of the cliques in the fiber world. And I was like, you know what? Screw that. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And yeah, this is people's livelihoods. But I want my customers to respect me for standing up for what's right. That I need to speak out on the fact that this organizer wronged everyone. She took our money as attendees, vendors, and sponsors and did not provide what was promised. And I'm really starting to get really upset talking about this, but my heart just goes out to the vendors. Please consider, I will link below, but someone has kindly put together a list of all the vendors so you can shop them. I will tell you about a couple, one today and one in about a week or so when I get my item that I just ordered online, because I couldn't really shop in her booth. But those vendors really suffered, and so I encourage you to go support them. So real quickly, I just very briefly wanted to touch on my works in progress. I am down to 2, I am happy to say. I'm knitting a sock that is sock yarn. This is Zauberball held with mohair. This is Zauberball. And then I'm holding it with my own hand-dyed mohair. And it's creating this beautiful, I don't even think you can really appreciate the halo on these. Anyway, These are super fuzzy. I did a heel flap and gusset, and now I'm on the foot of the sock. I knit this on the plane to and from Rhinebeck, and it was the best portable project that I could hope for. It was awesome. My other project, which I'll just very briefly touch on, is my Paloma. I think I showed this last time. I think last time, in fact, I had split for sleeves. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe not. But now I've split for sleeves and we're cruising on the body. And the yarn is Cirque by Avalon Springs Farm, which I bought at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival last year. It's merino and mohair. So let's announce the winner of the make along that just wrapped up, the Autumn Knits make along. I chose one winner, and the winner is from our Ravelry discussion forum. Her Ravelry username is ReneeT99. And Renee, if you would send me an email at m1yarnsinfo@gmail.com, I will happily send you a prize. So thanks everyone for participating in that make along. And I look forward to kicking off our new one next week. I divided my haul from the New York Sheep and Wool Rhinebeck Cake Wool and Folk weekend into two categories: fiber and non-fiber, because I knew that I didn't want so much to buy yarn because I have yarn. I wanted to buy fiber so I could really expand my stash for spinning. So all the fiber festivals I go to except for Rhinebeck, I am vending it. And so it's very hard to shop while you're vending. And while I could buy fiber online, shopping at this festival was my one opportunity to buy fiber in person. So I will get to the fiber at the end for those who are not spinners. If you're not interested, you can just check out by then. I bought 3 things at Wool and Folk. First, I bought this from Cottontail Farm. I'll link her below. But I know that this will be handy for my spinning. So I don't know what this is called. Anyway, bought that. Then also at Wool and Folk, I bought this orange and bergamot sheep's milk soap from a lovely vendor called Hurd Supply. I had a really nice chat with her. She was tucked into a corner. Her booth was very peaceful. Her soaps smell amazing. This is supposed to reduce redness and breakouts, antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory, milked and made in New England. And she is hurdsupply.com. She was really nice. Anyway, we had a nice chat. And then also at Wool and Folk, I bought some fiber, which I'll get to. But now I'll show you all the other goodies that I bought at the New York Sheep and Wool Festival. So last year I bought some hand cranked socks from Purple Hummingbird Woolens, and I absolutely love them. So this year I wanted to come back for more. She was nearly sold out by the time I got to her on Saturday afternoon. So good for her. But I got these and they are perfect. I mean, look at how beautiful they are. So she makes them like by size. So I wear a size 6.5 shoe. These are the 6 to 7s. Her name is Johanna Richardson. She's from New Hampshire. And she's Purple Hummingbird Woolens. I'll link below. So this was one of the main things I wanted to get this year at Rhinebeck. Every year at Rhinebeck, I go to Basil, Chester P. Basil's, and I buy a kitchen tool. I buy something different every year. I have spoons, I have coffee scoops, I have, what do I have? I don't know. But this year I bought this little flipper spatula. So excited for that. Then in the food booth, I got loose leaf tea from Loose Leaf Tea Company. This is orange bourbon. I should have brewed some for this. Tried it. I didn't think about it. Also in the food booth, I bought 4, and they get you. It's like buy 1 for $7 or buy 4 for $20. So of course I bought 4. These are from Coyote Kitchen. I'm trying to get it to focus. There we go. LLC. I got blood orange marmalade, strawberry balsamic cracked black pepper jam, strawberry blackberry jam, brown sugar pumpkin butter. I did buy some yarn. This sweater contrast color is Primrose Yarn Company in their Homestead Sport. Loved it so much. I wanted to get more in a different colorway for a different future project. And I bought this, which is Falling for You. This color palette is totally my jam. Absolutely in love. This was the only yarn I bought all weekend. Believe it or not, the rest is fiber. Oh, and the one last non-fiber thing is hand cream from from MaggiesFarmInc.com. This is shea butter, beeswax, lavender, vitamin E, jojoba, sweet almond, grapeseed, and apricot oils. I tried some of this in the booth. I wish that you could enjoy this with me. But, oh, can you just see how delightful that made my skin? And it smells good. Want to smell it? Smell. Inhale. Oh, it smells so good. All right, so that was my haul of non-fiber. If you are a spinner, this might be of interest to you. So I bought, I don't know what we call these. I don't know. But this is from the Sheep Shed, Mountainview Farm. This is a ½ pound of Polworth. And this is a ½ pound of Shetland. Both are just absolutely a delight. You have to you have to get a feel for it. So, I look forward to spinning these. Oh, at Woolen Folk, I went upstairs to the 5th floor, miraculously, and found the most delightful booth I had never heard of. KieraWXYZ. This is called, I guess the color is called Humbug, but it's Au Naturel number 2. It's 100% Shetland. It's 100 grams, and it's just gorgeous. This was really nice. Kiera and her family who were helping her mind her booth were really a delight. And this was probably one of the only highlights of my time at Woolen Folk. So this is Shetland as well. So I'm looking forward to spinning that. Oh, at Cake Palooza, I think the only thing I bought at Cake was this merino and soybean from MelanatedBoho Bay, who is my good friend Amanda. She is an amazing, crafty extraordinaire. I bought 2 of these Mountainview Coopworths. I think these are 4 ounces each, shy of a ½ pound, I want to say. And the last purchase I will share with you is this 1 pound ball of mystery fiber, because I forgot what the booth said it was, but it's beautifully hand-dyed. If you know what booth I'm talking about and know what this is and care to tell me, great. Otherwise, this will remain a mystery. I should have taken a photo if I was smart. But anyway, so I got a lot of fiber. All that to say, I probably should start spinning pretty soon. But anyway, that is all I've got for you. I hope you'll join in the new make along. And until next time, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy crochet, and have a great weekend. All right, bye.